I've often said wealth is freedom. Wealth is freedom to spend your time doing the things you want to do, when you want to do them, and with people that you want to do it with. But I'm going to add on to that. Wealth is freedom and fulfillment. And those are two very important components. Having the freedom of time is one thing, but doing things that are fulfilling with that time is a completely different thing. And you need to have both to live truly wealthy.
Let's bring in Grant White, portfolio manager,
an investment advisor at IA Private Wealth.
Welcome to the Finding Your Wealth podcast.
The whole thing is absolutely a bit of a tire fire, in my opinion. I don't like drama, and this stock is surrounded by drama.
Welcome to the latest episode of the Finding Your Wealth podcast. It's been a little while since I sat in the chair and recorded something. And it's largely because I've been, doing a bit of traveling and also exploring a few things. And that's what I wanted to share today, actually. So today's episode is going to be a little bit different because I want to share some reflections I've had in the past few months. And it's all related to what we've been talking about for the last couple of years anyway on the podcast. If anything, there's been a lot of reinforcement about what the conversations we've had here have been and with the people that we've had on as guests. And so, you know what, we're going to get some more great guests. We have some great guests coming up as well for the podcast. I thought this was a really good time to share my reflections over the past little while with the stuff I've been doing. And in particular, I had this incredible opportunity in January. So about a year ago, I was invited to join a group called the Rebel Dads, which is call it like a mastermind group for entrepreneurs who are also fathers, because both of those jobs can be lonely at points. And so this group was created during the pandemic by a couple guys named Derek Notman and Adam Holt, and wanted to bring people together and share ideas who are in that space. And one of the things that they do is every year there's a retreat, and it's held at Necker Island, which is Richard Branson's island, actually. Not just because of his business prowess and what's happened with the Virgin Group of companies and how they've been built and what they do in the world, but also because of who he is as a family person. And I don't want to make this whole podcast about Richard, but what I do want to say just up front is that my experience with him was that he comes absolutely as advertised, and he is exactly who I hoped he would be in person. I wanted to share some reflections I had with the group and what I learned and what was reinforced for me. And also, we had a great family trip afterwards, which is so awesome at the same time. It was such a great thing to go from this like retreat right into something that was for my family, and had a really, really great time. So yeah, I think that's ultimately what I want to talk about today, and how it's reinforced that, the conversations we've been having is, wealth isn't accumulation, and it never has been. I think that's one of the key points that I'm so emphatic about. I've had conversations about tax season recently in media, and we've turned that into a conversation around planning, around living a more free life, a life of true wealth, which is something that I think like the definitions have actually even changed for me on this. I've often said wealth is freedom. Wealth is freedom to spend your time doing the things you want to do, when you want to do them, and with people that you want to do it with. But I'm going to add on to that. Wealth is freedom and fulfillment. And those are two very important components, because having the freedom of time is one thing, but doing things that are fulfilling with that time is a completely different thing, I think. And you need to have both to live truly wealthy. That's one of the revelations I had on this trip, was that those components are really important. And there's lots of different things that play into it, but not the least of which is what you're giving back to your community and what you're giving back to other people. There's something so fulfilling about helping other people to live a life of true wealth as well. And that's literally why I do what I do every single day, and why we're creating the companies we're creating and the solutions that we're creating. And so that was one of the main things. Now, before I get any further into this, that's what the episode today is about. But before I get any further into this, I do want to give you an update on where my wealth score is. And we're going to call this a wealth score from now on, not a freedom score, because of that fulfillment piece. So I would say that my wealth score is at an 8. And how I'm evaluating my wealth score going forward is half of it is fulfillment and half of it is freedom of time. Previously, I'd been focusing on freedom of time, and this is a key distinguishing factor for me. Fulfillment is so important to this factor and to the scoring. And so that makes up at least half of the score. And so for me, my fulfillment score is 5 out of 5. I am absolutely getting up every single day, whether it's like spending time with my family or working with like customers and clients of our businesses or creating new businesses. I am absolutely like a max fulfillment right now. And that it's a roller coaster. It's not always like that. But right now, I'm feeling so confident about what we're doing and how we're going to have impacts on the world that I'm absolutely a 5 on that. And I'm so grateful for the team around me that's literally making that happen. So I'm at a 3. But actually, now I'm thinking about it, I mean, that's an improvement from where I was before. And I'm going to get into that as to why. But the main reason why is my perspective on time, and also the fact that I've been open to delegating and open-minded to delegation, open-minded to new technological solutions as well, and changing habits. And that has freed up my time. So I don't think I would have been at a 3 out of 5 on time before. And there's good reasons why I'm there now, and why I think, and I'm very optimistic that number is going to go from a 3 to a 4 very quickly here, actually. I want to share a few things that really stood out to me from my experiences over the last few months, and I hope that they'll help you and at least provide you some perspective on what's going on in your own lives. Let me first talk about the experience on Necker. And I'm going to be upfront that this exceeded what my expectations were. That's pretty interesting because I had really high expectations going in, and my experience absolutely exceeded them. But it's not for the reasons that a lot of people would think, though. You hear about going to the British Virgin Islands, private island, yada, yada, like the epitome of luxury, etc. And yes, everything was nice. But that wasn't the game changer for me. That actually almost made me a little nervous going into it. I mean, I'm not used to like billionaire private islands. Like, that's not my life. But that wasn't what it was about at all. What I would say is that it's really the design of the experience around Necker Island, which is clearly very intentional. It is so intentional. The design about it, everything there, any luxury that exists on that island, like whether it's like, hey, the fact that you can get virtually any type of food that you want, and they'll make it for you at any time of the day. Every single luxury is designed around creating connections with people. They don't want you worried about, man, I'm really hungry and I'm craving sushi, when they want you focusing in on like sharing ideas and thinking through and brainstorming about how you can create impacts in the world, or building relationships and how you can help each other out to create those impacts. The entire experience, even right down to the design of the buildings, everything is around connection. And I couldn't have been there with a better group of people for that, because there was about 22 members of the group there, all like varying degrees of all very successful people in their own right. And there's a big scale on what that success looked like in terms of dollars, for sure, but varying degrees of success. Lots are in the building stage, lots have built and exited, lots are, like up at the top already, and you name it, and some of the up and comers, so varying degrees of success, but all very successful in their own right. Actually, what really brought us together is the fact that this was a group of builders, thinkers, like people who had insatiable curiosity about how they could make a difference in the world, philanthropists, creators, not all business people per se as well, but like, yeah, absolute creators. Everyone there is asking some version of the question, though, how can we build something meaningful for other people? That was the key focus on so many things. But there was a lot of really great conversation. That was what it was all about. And what I would say was that something that stuck out to me, like, nobody asked me what I did. Like, nobody asked, what do you do for a living? It was all about who you are. He never asked me what I did at all, but he asked me about my kids. He asked me about my childhood. He asked me about growing up, my parents, living in Winnipeg. What's that like? What type of impacts I want to have in the world? And that was the culture of the entire week that I was there. Was like, nobody was really talking about what you do. Nobody cared about money. Nobody cared about any of that stuff. It was all about who you are as a person, your values, how you intend to help other people. And that was so refreshing to be around like-minded people like that. Obviously, that aligns very perfectly with what I want to talk about on this show. And why I do this is because I want to share this message that money is just a tool, I should say, but it is never the destination. And the wealth industry has done a really, really good job of making people focus in on the wrong things. But wealth has a real branding problem. I'm not talking about the industry. I'm talking about the actual concept of wealth. It has a massive branding problem, and it is not about money. It never has been. Freedom and fulfillment. And that is what I experienced there. And that's what I want to keep harping on. One of the things I would add on to that, curiosity is an absolute superpower. You should never stop being curious about how things can be done, about how other people are living, about what makes people happy, and what you can do to help others to succeed and be happy as well. That is, if you look at what the common trait, I would say, amongst some of the most successful people in the world and some of the people that I met, even on this trip, insatiable curiosity is the key driver. So never stop being curious. At Endeavor, that's one of our core DNA, core values is always be curious. That's what we look for in our people. That's what we encourage in our people. Always be curious. I left this trip very optimistic. Like, I'm naturally an optimist, and anybody who really knows me knows that. But I left very optimistic. There was a lot. I mean, even tonight, I'm doing a talk at my daughter's schools about AI and how we're introducing AI to our children, and what do we believe AI's role should be in schools, and so on. And so the conversations we had there was about being curious about like tools like AI, or habits, or even like things like working out, physically, exercising, and how that's helping, how you're using those tools to help you to evolve and help people to live better lives. So anyway, I'm just going to close off this section and just say, like, the people who thrive in the future I believe are the ones who are going to be extremely curious, relentlessly curious about all these new ideas, and the ones that are going to be using these new tools and these new ideas, or even just better habits in their own lives, to help others to live a more successful life in their own right, by their definition. The second point I want to reflect on from this is community absolutely matters. Success is not a solo sport. Anybody who's achieved real success and has a good awareness about it knows this already, but success is not a solo sport, never has been. As I said, Necker Island, and whether it's the buildings or whatever it is, even the activities that were done there, it's all intentionally designed around creating connections and bringing people together, right down to the fact that, like, you'll see circular tables like everywhere. Richard has a concept about like circle. He calls it, his circles, which is like, you have to strengthen the inner circles before you can get to the outer circles. But it's important that you do, there's inner circles that starts with you. And if you're not strong, mentally healthy, physically healthy, etc., then you're not going to be as good as you can be for your family, the next circle, and then for your community, and then for your companies, and then and so on and so forth, and ultimately get to like the world and people. And so it starts with the like strengthening the circles. And then once you strengthen them, then you can build on to the next, and to the next, and to the next. So this was a concept that was like visually there. And I'm sure that was intentional. But like, when you get through those, like, when you get to like this place where ideas can collide and partnerships can form, and ultimately people can help each other to succeed and to create bigger impacts in the world, you get kind of that visual, like the personification of rising tides raise all boats. I mean, this tied really back to a lot of things that we're working on here at Endeavor, things like community engagement programs, like how can we elevate people in our community, like, so that like we're getting better representation. The voices that need to be sitting at the table are getting a seat at the table. Building ecosystems like Endeavor Odyssey, an ecosystem that is connecting professional services so that clients can not only get better experiences, have a better experience in professional services, but also get a better advice, more tailored advice to their unique needs. Developing wealth and community. And again, I'm not talking about money. What I'm talking about is freedom and fulfillment, but having a wealthy, truly wealthy community, and how you can build out to that circle. I wrote down this line: real wealth compounds through relationships. And I'm absolutely a firm believer in that. This is something that actually, like, a reflection that I have that I want to be more intentional about going forward, is that real wealth compounds in through relationships. And, one of the things that I think I've done a reasonably good job personally is being curious about other people, but it's not something I've ever been intentional about. And so that's something I want to be going forward more, is creating spaces where curiosity can thrive and curious people can get together and collide ideas and collaborate and coordinate, if you're interested. I want to talk about the family trip afterwards too, because, it's great that I got to spend this time with so many amazing people there, and I learned a lot from a variety of different people. But one of the things that I think that, I want to like, what we did was something like not just equally important. This was more important, was like seeing the girls go on a trip with us. And we've traveled with them a little bit already. Max is only, 2.5 years old. JL's been on a few pretty cool trips already, but like, there's something that's really important to our family. And seeing the girls, I had this visualization. I met up with them in the Orlando airport, Sam and my parents actually, and the girls. met up with me in the airport in Orlando before we headed out on our trip. But seeing the girls and running into them there and having them actually run towards me with their backpacks on, their backpacks are basically bigger than they are, and running towards me is something I will never forget. I mean, I was only gone, I don't know, 5 or 6 days away from them, but that's a memory I want to carry with me forever, is just seeing those two little sets of legs just like sprinting through the airport because I hadn't seen their dad in about a week. And that's what gets me so excited about being a dad sometimes, But what you learn from traveling, and this is something that I want my girls in particular to understand, is that you learn that we have in common. We have so much more in common with people around the world than we have that differentiates us. And I learned this on my trip as well, because out of the 22 on my retreat trip, there was about 4 of us or so, 4 or 5 of us that were from other countries, whether it's South Africa, Ireland, Canada. There was about 4 or 5 of us. So in that group, even though it's a small group, you got quite a wide variety of political views, cultural views, traditions, you name it. But my greatest takeaway was, if there's 25 things, like 25 like values that make up people, just as an example, we had 23 in common. And there's maybe 2 that might have separated us, like a few of us, whether, again, it could be politics, it could be whatever. But why do we focus so much on the 2 that differentiate us when we could be focusing on the 23 that bring us together and that we have in common? And when you travel the world, and we've been fortunate to do this, what you see that the things that we all hold dear, the things that are the most important things to us, we pretty much have those all in common. And I think that's really an empowering thing. And it gives us understanding. And I think that's something that the world desperately needs right now, is more of that understanding, is that we have more in common. There's a lot of conflicts going on, but we have a lot more in common. And I get it. I think if we start focusing on the things that truly matter to us and less about the things that differentiate us, we can absolutely get there. That's why travel is so important to me. The other reflections I had from the family trip was, like, one, I got to spend time with my parents. And so, they were on this trip with us, and I love getting to see them spend time with our girls, because I just know that those are memories that my girls will have forever with them. And experiences are worth so much more than gifts at Christmas time and birthdays or whatever it is, The material things, those are so short-lived, but those memories that they have that literally are shaping their lives forever. And so I'm so grateful for that. I love that about her. Because you get, when you're traveling, you're getting to see, obviously, like, the world through their eyes for the first time, right? So, like, they're seeing these things for the absolute first time, and they're having this experience for the first time, and they are so naturally curious. Like, we should all learn from kids and how they do things. As adults, we sometimes lose some of that, and I genuinely think we need to think about how kids live a little bit more, because if we do that, 1, we're gonna have a lot more fun, and 2, I think we are gonna build some of those bridges that I'm talking about. So I love that Jay asked me a million questions. We're really in that why stage. Why? But yeah, kids remind you really of what actually matters in life, and it's so great. But it was also a great opportunity to slow down a little bit, and that's one of my goals for the year as well, is slowing down for the people around me. I'm really good at, like, jamming up and trying to execute on a million things. And I'm generally pretty good at that. I have a really great team around me, if I haven't said that enough, but who helped me out a lot with that. But I want to slow down, and it's not for me. I'm actually perfectly happy with my pace, but I want to slow down and make space and time for the people around me that need it. It starts with my family as my inner circle. It starts with me, actually, too, for that matter. One of the things I've done is I'm a 5 a.m. club person now. I'm get up at 5 a.m. and I'm getting a workout in, because it's the best time of day for me to do it. I love getting up early too, but it's like, that's the best time of day for me to be consistent. And since coming home, that's one of the things that I've really gotten into. And I've actually found an accountability partner with my good friend, Chris. But yeah, so starting with my inner circle and my own physical and mental health, but then, slowing down my time to make space for my family. And then as I get out to the outer circle, like my colleagues here, my teammates here at Endeavor, my community. So right now, I'm really working I've done a decent job at family. I can always work on that. But I'm at the stage now where I'm trying to build out more space and time for my people here at Endeavor. And that's been a focus of me. But yeah, my reflection on the family trip was, this type of stuff is what it's all about. It's not just about travel, because it's like, hey, you can do it on vacations and it's a little bit easier to do it. You got to do it when you get back. You got to do it with your people. You got to do it every day as much as you can. And there's going to be slip ups, and you got to be compassionate towards yourself. But when you have a slip up, you just get back on. life doesn't wait for you. The last 6, 7 years has taught us that. Life doesn't wait for you. The pandemic really taught us that. You need to be really intentional about living a life of freedom and living a life of true wealth and fulfillment, because it's not going to be given to you. And if you're not intentional about it, there's just a lot of time's going to go by. And it gets really harder and harder and harder to jump back into it. I actually liken it to the idea of a lot of longevity experts talk about, like, the earlier you start, like, getting physically healthy, the easier it is later on in life. It's really hard from, like, once you, like, hit age 50, for example, to start working and try to get healthy, to bring your physical age back towards, like, maybe like a younger age, but if you start earlier, it just becomes, it's that much easier because you built in the reps. And I would say living a life of true wealth is the same. The longer you wait, the harder it gets, and opportunities get taken away from you. Perhaps the pandemic took years away from some people, if not their lives. Mobility and health. And you're not just thinking about yourself, because, like, it could be your partner. Like, if they have mobility issues, what does that do? If you're, like, one of your goals is to travel, what does that do for you? But yeah, life can be taken away from you. And so if you're not intentional today about building it appropriately in the way you want it to be, it can be taken away from you. The line that sticks out to me, though, in this is also that, the brave may not live forever, but the cautious may not live at all. And I think that's something that I'm definitely taking to heart. Is it does maybe take a little bit of bravery to go against the grain and go against, like, conventional wisdom that tells you to defer happiness until things like retirement, to build your asset base until retirement, and then you can enjoy it, because we know how that goes for some people. So it does require a little bit of bravery, I think, to go against the grain of what, again, certain industries have taught you to do. Now, the closing part of this is I want to talk about why I was able to experience more freedom and more true wealth, and why my freedom scores at an 8. I want to give them all the credit. I mean, one of the reasons I was able to take this trip in the first place is because of something we've been working on for years, which is building, the right team around me. And, I've been able to, for example, expand my team in the right places in the last few years. But more importantly, I've been able to enable and empower people around me. I'm going to talk about my executive assistant, Callie, who is recently into that role where she has taken more control of my life. And organization of my life, more importantly. But within 2 weeks of being in that role, I've already seen noticeable changes in how I feel about organization and where we're going, and our ability to execute, and my ability to live the way I want to. And she's not the only one. I mean, Alex and so many others, Christy, so many others on my team have contributed to this. But that change has created real leverage in my life. And leverage is the thing that it's creating freedom for me. It's creating fulfillment, because I'm able to do more of the things that I want to do as well with the people I want to. It's really helped me to do more and be more. We have that tagline. It's helped me to be more. I also want to say, like, it goes beyond my work team, though. Like Sam, my wife, my partner. One of the things we started doing, and she's making fun of me for it, because this is a trick, if you will, or something I learned from one of the guys that was on the trip with me, was, every week his wife gives him a score out of 10 about how good of a husband he was that week. And it's not arbitrary. It's very subjective, because there's no criteria, and that's by design. This is something Sam and I are doing now. And we've kind of joked about it, but I think it's a really good thing, because it creates a space where we can communicate about where I need to be better for her and where I can help her out more. And so every Sunday I'm now getting a score from Sam out of 10 on how I did. Now, the first week I got a 9 out of 10 because I worked my butt off that week to get a good score. Week 2, she dropped me down to a 5. I'm not sure that was quite fair, but hey, that's the whole point of it. It's completely up to Sam and what that score is. So I got a 5, but that created a space where we could talk about what could I do better next week to improve, so I can be a better husband to her and a better dad to the kids. And so, yeah, I mean, I guess you can get into some competition of it, but I think the key point of it all, this might sound like a weird concept to a lot of you out there, but I think the key point of it all is to open up the space for conversation. So you can do that with a score like we are. You can just make sure there's time, you name it. But yeah, it's something that's been fun. Now, one of my good friends also asked me, it's like, well, are you giving Sam a score then on a weekly basis? And I asked, are you nuts? It'd be completely useless, because I'm going to give her at least a 9 out of 10 every single week. So no, I'm not going to give Sam a score, but I would say that the conversations we're having has definitely opened us up to, it goes both ways, obviously, and how we're helping each other out. I think being intentional about being open-minded is also really important. Being open-minded about technology, being open-minded about like how you're spending your time. One of the things that we are doing at home right now is we have a full year calendar. And this is absolutely a Jesse Itzler thing. If you follow him, he's Sarah Blakely's husband. Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, one of the best business leaders in the world today. I love her. She's a great entrepreneur. But Jesse, her husband's thing is this big ass calendar thing. And where you map out your year, you map out like the personal things you want to do, you map out every quarter, there's like something that you want, like a growth mindset thing. So whether it's like, I want to meditate more, or I want to do whatever it is, you pick one per quarter. You pick one big challenge you want to do that's going to push you either physically or mentally or emotionally every single year. It's something that you build towards, and it's like that growth item. But then you've got everything else planned out in the year, your travel, your family, vacations, you name it, that all shows up on the calendar. So Sam and I are working on this. We're not done it. We're working on it, but that's something that, we actively want to do as well. But yeah, just being open-minded to like different processes. Technology is a big one now with AI, of course, and how you're using AI to enhance your lives and enhance other people's lives. But it all ties back to that curiosity thing again, being openly, insatiably curious about how you could do things better for yourself and for other people, I think will carry you far. So as I close this episode, I want some key messaging to come across is that, especially as we talk about technology is not going to replace humans. It can remove constraints though. So humans can do more meaningful work. It can do those things. And when I say more meaningful work, then we're getting into the fulfillment side of things. So technology, don't be afraid of technology. You need to be open-minded to these things because, yeah, it's easy to fall into the trap of being concerned around what technology can do. But freedom isn't built. It's not found. Or freedom is built. Freedom is built. It is not found. And that's something, again, it requires being intentional. It requires designing it, thinking about it, giving it its time. And so I want to be very clear again. The goal isn't a bigger life. The goal is to build the most fulfilling life that you can. And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to change, again, wealth has a real branding problem. We're trying to change that. And if I have my way, when you think about wealth in the future, you're going to think about freedom of your time, and you think about fulfillment and doing things that are impactful to you and impactful to other people around you that you care about. And however big that circle is that you want to get to, that's what the fulfillment will be. So with that, I want to thank you for listening. Stay tuned because we've got some great guests coming up on the show that are going to also, help to build on these concepts some more and share their stories around it. And actually, I want to just add in one last thing is that on this trip, I met some amazing people and some of the people that are helping me to find more fulfillment in my life and who are helping me to expand my circles are who I hope will become lifelong friends. I believe they are. My good friends, Mark, Brian, James, and Bill, who I met on this trip. And now we are connecting at least once a month, if not more often than that. We're collaborating together in some cases. We're building together some ideas. But most importantly, we're helping each other and holding each other accountable to being the best and living up to our potential and finding as much fulfillment as possible in our lives, being the best dads possible, being the best husbands possible. So anyway, thank you guys. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. It's going to be a wild one. All right, take care. Bye-bye.